Hello and welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I am Sir Matt, the Bud Knight.
And I am Sir Ezra the Watchful. Welcome to our Song of Ice and Fire book club. Today we are into Daenerys IX of A Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sir Ezra and I are doing a, a double feature here, a double header, as we're recording 2 episodes back-to-back, because I'm going to be on vacation.
We're double fisting. Yeah. Double fisting.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess, yep, do it.
Well, you double something, right? I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I'm going to be on vacation the Monday, because next week is Labor Day, so I will be, the
Where are you
day this
going?
comes out. I'm going to Vegas.
Wow. That's right. You got a little collaboration too, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a little secret.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I could record, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, so I wouldn't be allowed to release the,
That's right. That's
really hear
right. You'd have to go to Vegas to hear the episode. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if
Yeah.
we recorded something special and it was like, physically
Amazing.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I've been to Las Vegas before, and I mean, it's okay. It's not really like a place where it's not really going to the casinos and stuff. That's just not really my kind of a thing. So,
yeah, I hear you. I mean, you're not in there gambling, large and just. I mean, have you ever gambled?
The one time I was there before, I played like a couple of the slot machines just because it's kind of fun.
Wow.
Didn't win anything. Saw some guy win a car though. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Why can't I win? Why can't I? Hey, you can't win if you don't play.
Yeah, you're darn right. You're darn right about that. What's the one? Is it roulette where they spin the table or whatever? What's that one called with the ball and the numbers?
Oh, yeah. What is that?
I don't know what that. Guys, I don't know anything about.
It's like Yahtzee or something, isn't it?
Yahtzee. Dude, oh man, I'll never forget. I actually went to a casino and saw like guys walk over who looked like they were in the mafia and drop. I mean, literally, they said 20 grand on the table, and I was like, I had $25 down, just messing around. It was like they were like superstitious about the times that they showed up. They showed up and like 5 or 6 of them sat down, and one had 20, one had 12. Big winner from the night before had lost everything. He had lost like 30 grand or something crazy and was back. There was smoke everywhere. It was nuts. I don't know, man. Be careful. Don't take somebody's table. Don't take somebody's chair when it's their time, because they're superstitious about that kind of stuff. They get kind of mean, Yeah.
So, well, see, I'm not. That's not really my thing. I'm just going. I got some friends there, so I'm kind of just going to hang out. But I don't really need to go to the Strip. I mean, if I do, it's like the only thing I would do is see a show. I saw Cirque du Soleil the first time I was there. That was awesome. I'd be down to do something like that again, but I don't really need to go to the casinos. People are smoking. I don't really like smoke. Yeah. I don't like it. So.
All right. Well, I mean, good luck. Be careful, right? Just.
Yeah, I mean, if I win it big, well, it was fun,
right.
Guys. See you later. No, I'm joking.
No, if you win it big, we're going big. That's what's happening. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
We've already made that pact. That's sealed in blood. So, I mean, that's done deal. So, by the way, everyone else listening too, if any of you win the lottery, I swear to the 7, if I don't hear about it and get something in return.
Seriously.
You're banished from the realm, straight up. So, all right. Someone's sitting there. They actually have one, and they're just living the life, not telling us. Good God. All right, cool. So yeah, we're doing we're double fisting. We're getting a double feature in here. Wanted to do a quick little featured shout out here just to Lady Amanda of House Ryan, Captain of the Guard. She is silent. She is stealthy. Not much. It's funny. I went to go look up some activity on Facebook, and some people just have Facebook simply because of the podcast they listen to, and they're not big on social media. But she's been a part of the Discord community, and just a solid individual. So we're happy to have her kind of on guard, if you will, on guard. So quick shout out to her. Huge thank you to all of our patrons and everyone who supports the show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, We're kind of going to be skipping the Maester study today because we kind of talked about it last week, and Sarah and I are recording these back to back, so there's not really a lot to talk about.
Whoa! Big news! I got some big news.
What's the big news?
Big news here. We just took a short break, and I went down and I found out that I have a couple new family members.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that. Yeah. Well, it's not really big news. It's little news because they're real little.
They're real small. But yeah, I just found out. I don't know. You actually, maybe I'll leave that edit in. I was gonna do from the last episode when midway through the chapter, I don't typically get interrupted in my studio, my fortress of solitude, but I was interrupted, and I was like, what's the commotion? What's going on? Like, why are people trying to bother me? And turns out we've got a few members of the family here. We've got a couple cats, couple
little
kitties.
Kittens.
Yeah.
There's one of them going to be called, Sir Pounce, and the other one, Mittens or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the question. I was going to put it out there. Maybe we do some get a thread going. I don't know what to name these little guys. I think just on initial look there, I think they're both girls. So we're going to double check that later. But anyways, would love to have some names for them. My niece Rachel's going to come back, and I was joking with my sister. She's probably going to name them both Sophie, right? She wants to call them Sophie and Sophie. I don't know why. She's hung up on that name for all of her pets. She's 4. So, and according to, Rickon, that's a big deal. So, you can make decisions and things. But anyways, if you guys have, I was thinking Arya, Sansa, I don't know. Thinking of some names out there. For these little guys.
Cersei, Daenerys.
Holy cow. No way.
Marjorie.
Marjorie, is there... I feel like it needs to be like a shorter, like Dany works, right? Mm-hmm. But Daenerys, I just don't know. I did have a cat back in the day, by the way. Were you the one who was with me when Professor McGonagall was killed? Do you remember this? And I'm sorry.
Wow, dude. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That was insane. It was almost like Professor McGonagall just knew it was time to go, and just was looking for a way to end. So I'm sorry, anyone who really can't handle who can't handle death like this. I'm sorry. Go. This is you're gonna have to share in my pain because I'm reliving it right now. So actually, if this is not your thing, please sincerely turn off or skip ahead. And I'm really sorry, but I have to tell you this so you guys understand some of. This is me opening up with the realm, and it was the reason I'm bringing these kitties up is it's a big deal. I had my first pet was a cat. Her name was Goliath. Yeah, I had no idea that Goliath was a whatever. I just didn't know. She was whatever. Goliath was a cool name, so I named my cat Goliath. Get over it. But my second cat was her name was Black Cat Professor McGonagall. I love McGonagall for some reason, so. She looked like that cat, in the movie. So I went with that. And it just was super old. I think we were in. We weren't in high school, were we? We might have just been.
Well, we would have had to have been in high school.
Were we in high school? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and one night my parents are leaving. We're about to leave too. I think they're going to church or something, and we're in the car. Or we're hanging out just outside and about to get in. Maybe your Tracker or my Oldsmobile. I can't remember. And the garage door, so they're backing out, and the garage door at the end of the driveway, Dad hits the button, garage door's coming down, and I see Professor McGonagall start walking into the garage, and she was old, she's blind, I mean, she's kind of losing it, she can't really hear that well, and I'm like, I'm like froze, I didn't know what to do, I'm like, no, I'm like, go, and I'm trying to, like, get in there, I mean, I'm way far away from, there's like nothing I can do. And
I can't believe.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. She just walks and then she literally stops. She stops underneath. It's terrible. I love that. I loved that cat so much.
Oh my God.
She died. She died by the garage door. It just. Anyways, I'm sorry. It's not funny, but she was old. It was her time, and I think she just kind of knew that, like.
I don't. Actually, I don't. I genuinely
It's a true story. It's a true story, though. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's on my mind. It's on my heart, and I had to get it out. So. Oh my! I have not mourned Professor McGonagall in years. Oh, shoot, man! I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I might start crying, bro. I might start crying.
It's so
She just
funny.
stood there. She just stood there, and it was like I was Sansa watching Eddard Stark, and there was nothing I could do. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Thanks. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. If anyone wants to go to cat therapy with me, let me know. Well,
okay,
God.
so you need to get, they make these things for garage doors now.
Yeah.
Since you have two new cats, they're sensors,
right?
So that kind of a thing doesn't happen.
Yeah, I actually think we intentionally did something. I don't know, like we bent the sensors up because. Or we put them higher than the cats or something. I don't know, because I remember because they'd always trip the garage door, and it'd be stuck halfway, and we're like, what the heck? Wow.
Wow. Hold on. I
Crazy.
just need a second to recompose myself after, shooting milk out of my nose and stuff.
Yeah, let me gather myself here and take a drink of it. Golly, that's why I get, next time Sir Pounce shows up, I get emotional. You guys know why. I mean. And I know I was laughing, and it maybe wasn't funny, but it's like it wasn't funny. But afterwards,
it's not funny, but it's the way in which you're telling the story is what's funny.
Because looking back on that, I'm pretty sure I was telling friends people were like, no way, that didn't happen. I'm like, yeah, it did. It was just it was awful. So, anyways, first cats I've had since then. So
okay, all right then.
All right, here we go. Woo! All right. Yeah, so as you were saying, we are skipping over the Maester's study. Maybe we will cover, cats in King's Landing next time. We'll go over that if I can handle it. So with that, then I guess we're just jumping into the old reread, right?
Yeah, here we go. Woo! All right. Last week we were talking about Sansa 6. It's where Sansa was in a deep depression after the execution of her father. Joffrey arrives to, beat her into attending him into court. After that, he takes her to the ramparts to see the heads of her father and household. For a few moments, Sansa has the opportunity to push Joffrey off the wall, but it disappears too soon. Much like Ezra's cat had that opportunity to get in. Too soon. Yeah, too soon.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so last time we were with Daenerys, actually not that long ago, Khal Drogo had fell off his horse. Daenerys had ordered the Khalasar to halt and call for Mir Mazdur. The God's Wife declared that only blood magic would save Khal Drogo. As the rite is being performed, Drogo's blood risers attempt to intervene. A fight ensues in which Ser Jorah Mormont is injured and all of Drogo's blood risers are killed. Daenerys starts to hemorrhage and Ser Jorah carries her into Drogo's tent. This week, Daenerys has a terrible nightmare during her long recovery. She wakes to learn that her child was born dead, a twisted monstrosity. When she visits with Drogo, he is comatose. Mir Mazdur says that he is alive. Daenerys is horrified by the cost of the blood magic. That night, she attempts to revive Drogo, but by morning knows he is gone forever and smothers him with a pillow.
Oh, man. Wow. A lot of death going on.
Jesus.
Jiminy. But no, this chapter is of the Daenerys chapters that we've been reading. Like this, it picks up a notch. I mean, you've got like more on her dream, right? Mm-hmm. Like the waking of the dragon and stuff. So I know you like to read the first part. So that's really what it starts off as. This dream she's going through.
Wings shadowed her fever dreams. You do not want to wake the dragon, do you? She was walking down a long hall beneath high stone arches. She could not look behind her, must not look behind her. There was a door ahead of her, tiny in the distance, but even from afar, she was sure that it was painted red. Now, that's that red door that this is like the first time you really start to see it, and it comes up bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
That red door Daenerys keeps seeing. She walked faster, and her bare feet left bloody footprints on the stone. You do not want to wake the dragon, do you? She saw the sunlight on the Dothraki Sea, the living plain rich with the smells of earth and death. Wind stirred the grasses as they rippled like water. Drogo held her in his strong arms, and his hand stroked her sex and opened her and woke that sweet wetness that was his alone. And the stars smiled down on them, stars in a daylight sky. Home, she whispered, as he entered her and filled her with his okay, there's just a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, a lot of sexual
yeah,
stuff.
I was like, wow, okay, all right, okay. But suddenly the stars were gone, and across the blue sky swept the great wings, and the world took flame. Don't want to wake the dragon, do you? Ser Jorah's face was drawn and sorrowful. Rhaegar was the last dragon, he told her. He warmed translucent hands over a glowing brazier where stone eggs smoldered red as coals. One moment he was there, and the next he was fading, his flesh colorless, less substantial than the wind. The last dragon, he whispered. Then as a wisp, he was gone. She felt the darkness behind her, and the red door seemed further away than ever. Don't want to wake the dragon, do you? Viserys stood before her, screaming, "The dragon does not beg, slut. You do not command the dragon. I am the dragon, and I will be crowned." The molten gold trickled down his face like wax, burning deep channels in his flesh. "I am the dragon, and I will be crowned," he shrieked. The dream continues on here after don't want to wake the dragon. The red door was so far ahead of her as she could feel the icy breath behind sweeping up on her. If I get caught, she would die a death that was more than death. Howling forever alone in the darkness, she began to run. Don't want to wake the dragon. She could feel the heat inside of her, a terrible burning in her womb. Her son was tall and proud, with Drogo's copper skin and her own silver golden hair, violet-shaped eyes like almonds, and the smile as he smiled for her and began to lift his hand towards her. But when he opened his mouth, the fire poured out. She saw his heart burning through his chest. In an instant, he was gone. Continues on a little bit. Want to wake the dragon. Ghosts lined the hallway, dressed in faded remnants of their kings. In their hands were swords of pale fire. They had hair of silver and hair of gold and hair of platinum white, and their eyes were opal and amethyst, tourmaline and jade. Faster, they cried, faster, faster. She raced, her feet melting the stone wherever they touched. Faster, the ghost cried as one, and as she screamed and threw herself forward, a great knife of pain ripped down her back, and she felt her skin tear open and smelled the stench of burning blood and saw the shadow of wings. And Daenerys Targaryen flew. Wake the dragon. It continues on a little bit more after that. The door loomed before her, the red door, so close, so close. The hall was a blur around her, the cold receding behind, and now the stone was gone. As she flew across the Dothraki Sea, higher and higher, the green rippling breath of all that lived, the breath fled in terror from the shadow of her wings. She could smell home. She could see it. There, just beyond that door, green fields and great stone houses and arms to keep her there. She threw open the door, the dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, so pretty intense mixture of things, right? I mean, it's I don't know, like it reminds me of the chaos at the end of this last chapter where, Khal Drogo's in there. You've got shadows dancing around. We saw like a burning man. We saw like a wolf. Some craziness happening there. So once she goes in, I can almost imagine that, and she's been out for a little time here, having this fever dream or whatever, and things are nuts in the dream. You've got the waking of the dragon. You're seeing a tie back to the red door, possibly. We can talk about Lemon Gate. I kind of put it in the Cool Connections, a theory that I have.
Lemon Gate.
Hey, yeah, I mean, seriously. So the whole red door situation, it comes up so many times there, and she's just wanting to get back home. So we can talk about maybe her childhood a little bit. We'll get back into that later. That's some subconscious stuff coming up in her dreams. We hear her brother, right, that being the dragon, trying to be the dragon, and we really get man, there's also a real crazy parallel between what is happening to her in her dream and what actually the air quote monstrosity that comes out of her, and that her son ends up being, according to Masdar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know. There's a magical elements to this chapter. Things that happen to Jorah also, like his gaunt face and the death there. The things that happen to him. It's nuts. It was a bad idea to bring her into that tent. That's all there is to it. The horse was supposed to be the sacrifice, right, for Khal Drogo. Dany thought that was the price that was being paid. But anyways, when she wakes up, she'll learn more about that. But this dream, I mean, it's nuts. What do you think about it, Sir Matt? It's like, what's going on in this dream?
Well, a little bit of it, one of the things I saw of it, when it's talking about Daenerys and possibly having wings, we think about her like being a dragon. I just keep thinking about that shot in season 8, right? When she's walking and Drogon flies behind her and has his wings out, and it makes her look like a dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, we do get a little bit of the Red Door. We're going to talk about Lemongate a little bit. But a lot of it, she sees possibly old Targaryen kings. She sees, it's like some things that are, it's very similar to that dream Bran has. I think it's Bran 3 earlier in this book, where, just seeing a lot of images of things, and she's seeing some things that have happened, like her brother getting, Viserys getting the crown of gold.
Right.
And some things like her son growing up, but then he's ripped away. So it's kind of like a whirlwind is the way it looks to me.
Yeah. Do you see how this, like when you look at the book and you look at the structure of this, the whole, the italicized phrase that's repeated over and over again. So it starts off, "You don't want to wake the dragon, do you?" ! Then again, it repeats, "You don't want to wake the dragon, do you?" So that's twice. Now it changes a little bit. Instead of "you don't," it takes that, we just have "don't want to wake the dragon, do you?" And then again, "don't want to wake the dragon, do you?" And now we narrow it down, "don't want to wake the dragon, don't want to wake the dragon," and then "want to wake the dragon, wake the dragon, the dragon." Just kind of interesting if you really look at what George is kind of doing there with the dream and how that's sort of woven in there,
and it's guiding her. And I think that's maybe that's what she sees, and that's her justification to think, okay, after how the way this chapter ends, as we already know because we talked about the summary, she and from seeing the show and everything, when she ends up killing Khal Drogo, she then throws him on the pyre in the final chapter of this book, and she takes the dragon's eggs in with her, and then she wakes the dragons.
Yeah, and we got to mention the Red Door again because you're right, exactly. We'll get to the heat that's coming off of them, and when Jorah touches them, they're cold. When she touches them, they're hot. It's weird. But the Red Door, it first appears far away when the phrase is, "You don't want to wake the dragon, do you?" The Red Door and home, it seems so far away, unattainable.
Right.
And then as you whittle this down, all of a sudden the Red Door is so close, right? The door loomed just before her. So close, so close. The hall was a blur around her. The cold was then receding behind. Man. So, and she's becoming the dragon. The dragon is waking in her. It's a transformation, really. And really, what do you think about what's happening with her in this tent with the shadows dancing around? The dead were there. The dead were there dancing. I mean, it's some crazy magic that's happening. So that is probably a part of what's drudging up this slumbering dragon that's in her, if you will. Like what activates it, what gets it going. We talk about after this chapter, right, with the final chapter, more of the transformation, what activates sort of those dragon eggs, and how do they come to being, and all that kind of stuff. It's magic. Magic is back in the world, and it's crazy. There's a lot more we could actually really go piece by piece here on there's a lot in this dream. So if anybody wants to, this is not a part to really gloss over. There's some cool stuff here, just in like I said, the parallel, like the splitting down of her spine and the wings kind of coming out, and then her son having, being a monster. By the way, real quick, Sir Matt, I mean, I don't think her son, she makes the remark that, well, it's almost like her son was transformed inside of her when she went into the tent. I don't think her son was always like that.
No.
Right? So I just wanted to clear that up, because it's pretty gruesome and crazy what takes place there. But all right, anything else on the old dream here? Just that kind of comes to mind.
Well, no, I mean, I'm with you, and then it ends. One part I didn't kind of read here, it's this, the final part here. And she saw her brother Rhaegar mounted on a stallion as black as his armor. Fire glimmered red through the narrow eye slit of his helm. The last dragon, Ser Jorah's voice whispered faintly, the last, the last. Dany lifted his head, his polished black visor. The face within it was her own, almost like a, Luke Skywalker, Dagobah kind of situation there.
Right.
And so I think she sees herself as the last dragon.
Yeah. She's taken that over. That right. She's heard about the last dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Always believed it was her brother. He had the wake the dragon mentality, and then there it is in her. That same spirit is there, and she kind of figures it out. Something else that's happening too in that dream. There's ice and fire represented. You see this contrast between like icy, imagery, if you will, and it's sort of receding away and going behind her, and she's being drawn closer towards the red door and this warmth and fire, if you will. So it's just subtle in each of those paragraphs, but you can kind of see that taking place, which is cool. So I don't know what that means exactly, other than she's fire and blood.
Yeah, right? Pretty much. So she ends up waking up. She woke to the taste of ashes. No, she moaned. No, please. Khaleesi Jiqui hovered over her, a frightened doe. The tent was drenched in shadow, still and close. Flakes of ash drifted upward from the brazier, and Dany followed them with her eyes through the smoke hole above. Flying, she thought. If I had wings, I was flying, but it was only a dream. Help me, she whispers, struggling to rise. Bring me. Her voice was raw as a wound, as she could not think what she wanted. Why did she hurt so much? It was as if her body had been torn to pieces and remade from the scraps. I want... Yes, Khaleesi. Quick as that, Jiqui was gone, bolting from the tent, shouting. Dany needed something, someone. What? It was important, she knew. It was the only thing in the world that mattered. She rolled onto her side and got an elbow under her, fighting the blanket tangled around her eggs. It was so hard to move. The world swam dizzily. I have to. They found her on the carpet, crawling toward her dragon eggs. Ser Jorah Mormont lifted her in his arms and carried her back to her sleeping silks. While she struggled feebly against him, over his shoulder, she saw her 3 handmaidens. Jogo, with his little wisp of mustache, and the flat, broad face of Mira Mester. I must, she tried to tell them. I have to. Sleep, Princess, Ser Jorah said. No, Dany said. Please, please. Yes, he covered her with silk, though she thought she was burning. Sleep and grow strong again, Khaleesi. Come back to us. And then Mira Mazder, was there, tipping a cup against her lips. She tasted sour milk and something else, something thick and bitter. Warm liquid ran down her chin. Somehow she swallowed. The tent grew dimmer, and sleep took her again. This time she did not dream. She floated, serene and at peace on the Black Sea that knew no shore.
Yeah, so drifting into another dream here. Oh man, so like one thing too, I just real quick, Matt, before we I was looking back over some of this to kind of tie this dream into that other dream and to what we're going to have later on. We were talking about her son a little bit, right? And how the transformation that takes place in her womb or whatever. And I was talking about the heat and the ice. She actually sees him, and I think you read this, right? But being tall and proud.
Yeah.
Right? Having her own silver gold hair, violet eyes. What? so she sees that. She knows what he was inside of her, and she can kind of see that. She has a manifestation right in her own mind of what he would have looked like, and then he opens his mouth, fire comes out. It's like also foreshadowing that the dragons will be her children. And as I was saying too earlier, that she could feel the icy breath behind her sweeping up on her. So icy breath, this it was trying to catch her. If it caught her, she would die a death that was more than death, howling forever alone in the darkness. And then she began to run. So I just wanted to. Those were some just themes that I think kind of carry on through this chapter. But yeah, let's move on to the next stream. I think you were right there about what read it, correct? What happens next?
Yeah, after a time, a night, a day, a year, she could not say. She woke again. The tent was dark, its silken walls flapping like wings when the wind gusts outside. This time Dany did not attempt to rise. Eerie, she called. Jiqui, Dora, they were there at once. My throat is dry, so dry that they brought her water. It was warm and flat, yet Dany drank it eagerly and sent Jiqui for more. She asked, I have been sick. The Dothraki nodded. How long? Yeah. They say long, she whispered when Jiqui returned with more water. So that means at least a couple days.
Yeah.
Is what the way I would kind of view it.
Right.
Mira Mazder came with her, eyes heavy for sleep. Drink, she said, lifting Dany's head to the cup once more, but this time it was only wine. Sweet, sweet wine. Dany drank and lay back, listening to the soft sound of her own breathing. She could feel the heaviness in her limbs as sleep crept in to fill her up once more. Bring me, I want to hold. Yes, the Magi asks, what is it you wish, Khaleesi? Bring me, an egg, the dragon's egg. So she's not even asking for her child, which
she talks about that later, right? She kind of knew already during that first, that's why I went back to that first dream, what she saw and the heat consuming her womb, that the child was gone. Yeah.
I mean, it's still in this delirious state though, like she, where she can't even think about Khal Drogo. She, it's the dragon's egg that ultimately is what she's asking for.
Yeah,
it's almost as if it's just calling to her.
Yeah, for sure. So the one that they get is the buttercream one, right, with the gold and bronze. What's a cool phrase here? Dragon dew. She thought this precipitation, this sweat that's kind of on her. That's taking place. Dragon dew, she thought, right? Her fingers trailed lightly across the surface of the shell, tracing the wisp of gold deep in the stone. She felt something twist and stretch in response. It did not frighten her. All of her fear was gone, burned away. So it's weird that what I almost think, and I don't know if anybody's ever talked about this before or not, but you know how she'll say later on, she'll talk about all the death that took place around this tent, and did Mazder know that she needed more than a horse to do what she was going to do? Did she foresee that the dance she would do in this tent would draw Dany and others in and would steal more life? Because she seems, we'll talk later, she pretty well confesses to having the intention to do harm, if you will. And
absolutely.
Right. I mean, so what I'm thinking is that even some of the life that is drained and stole from Jorah, because he's got the limp, he's got the gaunt face, did some of that also go into the dragon eggs by chance? Were they nearby? Where were they at? I know that, or is it that like she lost this life and then the ebb and flow somehow she's what causes them to stir, I guess.
That's
why now?
There's a theory I read. God, I wish I'd saved it along, like about a year ago, and it was when I was beginning to try and work on like a big summer hall theory. And ultimately, you and I did a Patreon kind of musing about that. And one of the things I was kind of thinking about was, and what this theory was kind of mentioning, but it caused me to kind of go in my own direction, was it's possible that some of the eggs that were at Summerhall are the eggs Dany has now. That's a theory. Because because they don't describe all of the eggs at Summerhall. They don't describe all of the eggs that have ever existed. These 3 we obviously have clear descriptions of. I'm pretty sure if you pull up the ones, I think like you could make the argument that at least with one of them is pretty similar. Yeah, let me pull up that theory. Give me 1 second here. It's
about the old dragon eggs.
Yeah, so it's this idea of, where are the dragon eggs?
and still there's the where are all the dragon eggs? Which ones are which? And then we'll once you talk about that, we'll get back to the idea like what causes these dragon eggs to become like unpetrified, or maybe that's just how dragon eggs always are. Why didn't what happened at Summerhall work? And why is this blood magic? Maybe there wasn't enough blood in the whole fire and blood thing going on at Summerhall.
Yeah.
Right?
So Dany's eggs are, 1 egg was a deep green with bronze flecks that came and went depending on how Dany turned it. Another was pale cream streaked with gold. The last was black as a midnight sea, yet alive with scarlet ripples and swirls. So the dragon eggs that we see at Summerhall, now give me that. Give me a second to pull those up. Dragon eggs, Summerhall, tragedy at Summerhall. Oh, not sorry, the wiki here. But anyway, so some of it is, some people say that it's possible that the tragedy at Summerhall is like fire and blood, right? And so it actually kind of like infused it to where it was like ready to go if you had another. Because the dragon eggs have become like petrified and old, and they thought like, so that's how some of that they got like infused at Summerhall.
So almost like they were primed,
right
at Summerhall. Okay. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's interesting. I never thought about that. That's neat. Because that's what I'm thinking here is there's she gets comfort in having the eggs near her. She has a dream about the dragon waking. So those are little dragons waking inside those eggs, and blood magic taking place. The fever, I guess, is kind of like a fire, right? A fire inside.
Yeah, because if you look at some of the other, because other people have had eggs, but not all of them have turned into things, right? So, let's see here. Maelor Targaryen, Prince Maelor Targaryen, had an egg that was pale green with swirls of silver. Well, Daenerys has one that is pale cream, and she also has another one that is deep green with bronze. And so, it's possible that these things kind of change over time or, whatever. You got another one, Prince Aerion Targaryen had one that's gold and silver with veins of fiery colors. And we don't necessarily know what happens to these eggs. Dragon egg is white with green swirls. Well, okay, white and green, you got, that's certainly kind of similar to one of those. So some people have made the argument that they are that they're the same eggs.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be interesting. So, and you brought up something too that maybe they could change. I never even thought about that, but maybe they do. They could. Who knows? Like maybe over time or when primed or infused, maybe they could change.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, interesting. So, like the idea of that. And I guess as you were talking about that, I was just thinking more about the tent and what's happening there and the spell work and things that are taking place. And you do have blood and you have fire and blood there for activation.
Yeah.
So, and you also have a Targaryen in desperate need of something too. So, I don't know if that plays into it or not, but it seems yeah, maybe even the waking of the dragon or the dream that comes to her too is sort of like in this time of great hardship or peril or whatever, like that's
right.
It's laying dormant, but it's activated because of what she's going through.
Yeah. So okay. So anyway, so they're they're bringing her the dragon egg. As you talk about dragon dew. This is where she's kind of starting to wake up a little bit here. She asked for water, a flagon of water, cold as you can find it, and fruit. As you say, Khaleesi, I want Ser Jorah and a warm bath, and Mira Mazder, and Khal Drogo. Is he, the cow lives, Eerie answered quietly, yet Dany saw a darkness in her eyes when she said the words, and no sooner had she spoken than she rushed away to get water. She turns to Dora. Tell me. I shall bring you Ser Jorah, the Lysine girl said. Jiqui would have run as well, but Dany caught her by the wrist and held her captive. What is it? I must know. Drogo and my child. Why had she not remembered the child until now? My son Rhaego, where is he? I want him. She says the boy did not live, Khaleesi. Her voice was frightened. Dany released her wrist. My son is dead? She thought as Jiqui left the tent. She had known somehow. She had known since she woke up the first time to Jiqui's tears. No, she had known before she woke. Her dream came back to her sudden and vivid, and she remembered the tall man with copper skin and long silver gold braid hair bursting into flame. She should weep, she knew, yet her eyes were dry as ash. She had wept in her dreams, and the tears had turned into steam on her cheeks. All the grief had been burned out of me, she told herself. She felt sad, and yet she could feel Rhaego receding from her as if he had never been. That's rough.
Well, and so there's that theme, right? There's this idea that the fire, the dragon awakening inside of her is burning out all of these. Actually, you can take this all the way to the end of the series. That it's why does she go mad? Why does she go crazy? It's sort of like the tears aren't there. There's no. She still will have emotions, and she still has all of that. But here's the start of that. Here's a bit of foreshadowing where when the dragon wakes up and she goes through these issues or whatever trials, it doesn't affect her the same as maybe it would affect someone who is not the air quote dragon.
Yeah.
So, really, really interesting. Oh boy. So when Jorah comes in, right? She actually, this is where she wants him to kind of feel the dragon eggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. She says, what do you feel? Shell, hard as rock. The night was wary. Scales. Heat, no. Cold stone. He took his hand away. Princess, are you well? Should you be up, weak as you are?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she can sense that, and he can't. So that's really interesting, right? That's also going to be you're in a weird place later on when she sees Quaithe. By the way, I think it's in the next book. No one else can see Quaithe.
Mm-hmm.
If you when you look at that, so that's crazy. So she's seeing things that other people aren't. She's feeling things that no one else can feel. Is she going mad right now? Is she going crazy? He can't feel it. So, and she actually feels, weak. She questions that, right? He wondered if she was well. She says that she's strong. She feels strong, despite everything that's kind of happened to her, and she wants to know how her child died. And two pieces here. Not only does Ser Jorah look the way he looks because of maybe the effects of the magic and the things that were taking place inside this tent, he also feels responsible for bringing her into that tent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's a believer now, right? He probably really knows that there were some major consequences for bringing her in and around that whatever this blood magic ceremony that Mira Mazder was putting on there in the tent. So
yeah.
But when they talk about her son, he can't really bring himself to tell her what happened, and it's Mazder who kind of says that he was monstrous. He was monstrous. She realized at that point that she was a strong woman. That even though Ser Jorah is a powerful man, he wasn't able to deliver the information, and he didn't have that type of. He hadn't gone through something like this. He couldn't harden himself and just cut straight to the truth of it. And you find out why Mira Mazder can do that. But she says, twisted. I drew him forth myself. He was scaled like a lizard, blind with the stub of a tail, and small leather wings like the wings of a bat. When I touched him, the flesh slothed away or off the bone, and inside he was full of grave worms and the stink of corruption. He had been dead for years. Think of that. He had been dead for years. It actually makes me think that her child was replaced with something. Again, it was stolen from her. That life was taken.
Haven't some other? I'm trying to pull it up here. I know that some other Targaryens. I thought it was Maegor the Cruel. Have their children have been described very similarly. As like scales. They were. Yeah.
They were. But what she says to kind of counter that is just that my son was alive and strong when Ser Jorah carried me into the tent. I could feel him kicking and fighting to be born. Why would she say, he had been dead for years? That's the because you're right.
I know that. I know that. I'm just wondering though, if he actually came out. I'm just wondering, is there something kind of these Targaryen, children and
he could have. Yeah, he could have, and also Dany's very young too. That's something, right? That being this young, bearing her first child. There's a lot of,
right here. This is from I know. From A World of Ice and Fire. This is talking about Maegor. Maegor's wars against. They're talking about his wars against the faith. Were further compounded by his many marriages as he strove to produce an heir. Yet, no matter how many women he wedded or bedded, he found himself childless. He would made the brides of women who he had widowed, women who proved fertility, but the only children born of his seed proved monstrosities, misshapen, eyeless, limbless, or even having the parts of man and woman both. So, and I know some other people have described as having kids as like scales. It's what's her name? It's like Rhaenyra Targaryen or Rhaenys, Queen Rhaenys, right? In the Dance of the Dragons. Remember the kid that's in her that she's screaming? She's like, "Get out, get out!"
Yeah. It has happened to Targaryens for sure. So, it's just interesting. And so, even if this would have been
Rhaenyra is what I meant.
Yeah. Even if this child inside of her would have been born like that, it's sort of whatever death and disease laid on this baby was not there before. That's sort of what it may have came out with who knows with what does it say, the scales, wings, and all that other stuff. Maybe it does come out kind of looking like that. But it's the bit that's like the death and the flesh that was coming off of the bone, the stink of corruption.
For sure,
he had been dead for years. That is, I think, the piece that was added. That's the whatever's happened with all the shadows. Ser Jorah explains it right. He said that there were shadows dancing around there, and that's what he saw. Because she says to Dany, that may be as it may be, saying, kind of conceding that point when she says, I could feel him kicking and fighting to be born. And she says, that may be as it may be. Yet the creature that came forth from your womb was as I said. Death was in that tent, Khaleesi. So she's kind of saying, putting those together. All I know is this is what came out. Maybe it was altered because of the death that was in the tent. And then Jorah says, only shadows. I saw Meiji. I saw you alone, dancing with the shadows. And then she says, the graves cast long shadows, Iron Lord, long and dark, and in the end no light can hold them back. The night, and I wanted to finish there, and the night is dark and full of terrors. Yeah. So here we go. So Ser Jorah had killed her son, Dany knew. He had done what he did for love and loyalty, yet he had carried her into a place no living man should go and fed her baby to the darkness. Now, he didn't mean, I don't think he knew that exactly. He was hoping, he took her in there to save her life. And because she was, the complications she was having, right? So he knew it too, the gray face, the hollow eyes, the limp. The shadows have touched you too, Ser Jorah, she told him. The knight made no reply. Dany turned to the god's wife. You warned me that only death could pay for life. I thought you meant the horse. No, Miramaster said. That was the lie you told yourself. You knew the price. Had she? Had she? If I look back, I am lost. So this is a phrase she kind of repeats to herself, right? She has to keep pressing forward, and she can't look back. Her path is forward. So yeah, I mean, I think she kind of. I don't know that she did. Maybe there's something there. Like she's being warned by the Dothraki about this woman and her magic and to not trust it. But she very clearly, I think she dismisses everyone here in a second, right? First, she wants to see where Khal Drogo is, but she'll talk to Mir Mazdur later and like straighten this out. Like, you're a liar. You did not lay this out very, very, very clearly. You did not explain the consequences. So, but yeah, they head over to see Khal Drogo. She said, "Come, I will take you to him." And Jorah kind of helps her out there through the door. Boy, this is something, right? What was interesting is when I was reading this description of him and how what all he can do in the show, he can't move. He's just laying there, right? Don't they have to kind of move him around? He can't even get up and walk.
He's just kind of like a zombie almost.
Yeah, and in this, it seems like if you guide him, he can still walk. It's almost like he can still stand and move around. Isn't that crazy? There was a line. There was a line that said that. Let's see. Yeah, a small crowd of children had gathered to watch her, and beyond, she glimpsed women going about their work. They talk a little bit about how the Khalasar has kind of split up and they've scattered, right, and different individuals have taken over. She says Drogo's Khalasar is gone. She's kind of shocked by that. The feeble had hung around. Women and children had maybe stayed with her. So, yeah, she just realizes that. And they divide into many different smaller, several cows kind of emerge out of this, don't they? Because he had a huge horde. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. His house crazy. I mean, it's enormous.
Right.
Because he'd never lost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they kind of explained to her that, we were too few to stop them. It is the right of the strong to take from the weak. They took many slaves as well, the cows and yours, yet left some few. So some of the blood riders have kind of, or people that were really loyal to Khal Drogo and to Dany have stayed. But wow, yeah. They go on to describe, too, what happened to... let's see. Mago seized her. Let me see. Who are they talking about here? One of her handmaidens, right? One of her slaves that she had freed, right? And Mago had taken and seized her and ends up, brutally kind of killing her and doing a whole bunch of other terrible things. And she kind of vows later on that he will get what's coming to him. So she's getting more and more hardened and what have you there. So, okay. So he was lying on the bare red earth, staring up at the sun. A dozen blood flies had settled on his body, though he did not seem to feel them. Dany brushed them away, knelt beside him. His eyes were wide open, but did not see. She knew at once that he was blind. When she whispered his name, he did not seem to hear. The wound on his breast was as healed as it would ever be, the scar that covered it gray and red and hideous. Why is he out here alone in the sun, she asked. And they say, he kind of he enjoys the warmth. And it's ironic, right? Because that's what Dany, where she got comfort was as she got closer to the door. The icy chill was receding behind her, and the warmth was comforting, and she felt like she was at home. So anyways, he also likes to kind of track the sun across the sky. He can kind of almost sense that, right? That warmth. He will eat food if you put it in his mouth. And it also says he will go wherever you lead him, but no further. So seems like he can move about. Drink if you dribble water onto his lips. So without anyone else there to maybe do those things, he wouldn't live, I don't think. He would need someone to take care of him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dany, she kisses him. She wants to be with him a little bit, right? But then she faces Mir Mazdur and says, "Your spells are costly. They're costly."
Yeah, he lives. You ask for life. You paid for life.
Right. I mean,
this is not life for the one who was as Drogo was. His life was laughter and meat roasting over a fire pit and a horse between his legs. His life was an arak in his hand and his bells ringing in his hair as he rode to meet an enemy. His life was his blood riders and me and the son I was to give him.
Yeah.
When will he be as he was? Dany demanded. So this is a big, line here. Make sure to highlight these.
Yeah.
When the sun, no, gosh dang it, and then I click off the wrong thing. When the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, said Mira Mazder. When the seas go dry and the mountains blow and the wind like leaves, when your womb quickens again and when you bear a living child, then he will return and not before.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? Because she says later on, and I'm just going to jump to it, she realizes that what that means is never. That he will never be the same, which then would also tell you that her womb will never quicken and that she will never bear a living child.
And if you go by the show, she doesn't.
Right, and that's something she kind of thinks about, actually, as she moves through lovers and stuff, and as we follow her on her journey, this crosses her mind, and it's settled, I guess. She believes it. She knows that it's true. Because if she can have a child, well, then Khal Drogo could come back. Is it just something that Mira Mazder says, or is there more to it? Is it just another way to say never? Or does Mira Mazder actually know that she cannot bear a living child? Does she know that something's been corrupted in her womb?
Or does Mira Mazder know that Daenerys will never have another child? Not that she's not able to, just that she never will because she can see into the future.
That too. Maybe, again, is it the corruption, or is it just that she knows she never will have one? Yeah, who knows? But anyways, she says she tells everybody to leave us. So, she wants to speak with Mira Mazder herself. And this is where she kind of gets on her, right, a little bit, and she the strength kind of comes to her. She gets this fury, right? She says, "You knew what I was buying, and you knew the price, and yet you let me pay it." And this is where she kind of says, she admits.
Yeah, she tells her why. Yeah,
yeah, right. It was wrong of them to burn my temple. That angered the great shepherd. Whew. So. Okay, Dany's like, this was no God's work. If I look back, I am lost. She keeps reminding herself of that. You cheated me. You murdered my child within me. And then here it is. The stallion who mounts the world, which is what Dany and everyone was calling her child. The stallion who mounts the world will burn no cities now. All right, his Khalasar shall trample no nations into dust. She said, I spoke for you. I saved you. Saved me, right? She can't believe, right? You saved me. 3 riders had taken me, not as a man takes a woman from behind, but as a dog takes a bitch. The 4th was in me when you rode past. How then did you save me? And she goes on to say, right, that really, not even just her and what she went through, but the death that she had saw around her people dead and raped and just all the destruction, right? People she had just worked on and healed, or she had just saw earlier, all of her good works, I guess, right? Everything that the great shepherd, the blessings that it had given her, and she had passed on to the people. Those people then were supposed to live lives and go on to do great things, but no, Khal Drogo showed up and ends up killing all of her people, right? So she says, "Tell me again what you saved," and then Dany says, "Your life." And then this is when I think she has a point here. She laughed, Mira Mazder laughed cruelly. Look to your Khal and see what life is worth when all the rest is gone. So
yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate here that Dany's ultimately the one that gets punished for all of this. But it's not like Dany, at this point in time, is all about every time Dany sees all this conquering, and it's not like she enjoys it.
No.
I mean, she stops people from raping people. She wants to make the world a better place.
She's working with what she has, and she's doing what she can with the power that she could wield as Khaleesi. So yeah, and that's all good and well from her point of view, but Mira Mazder is sort of like, done. If I can scatter these people, and if I can do something to give other people elsewhere a fighting chance, I'm going to. I'm going to take out Khal Drogo, and I'm going to take out his son, and then these people will scatter because maybe she knows their ways, or she knows how they're going to, like what the fallout will be. But man, yeah, she just makes that point though, that what is life without everybody else? And that's sort of her thing, is that like everything around her that she cared about was dead and was gone and was destroyed. So yeah, you can live, but what's there to live for? She had reached that point, and maybe didn't want anybody else to go through what she had gone through. So, whew. So anyways, Dany thinks that she could she could take her head off, right? She could have her killed,
right?
But that's just another death. It's just more death. So
yeah.
But she focuses on Khal Drogo and tries to spend some time with him, right?
Yeah. So they led Khal Drogo back to her tent, and Dany commanded them to fill a tub. And this time there was no blood in the water. She bathed him herself, washing the dirt and the dust from his arms and chest, cleaning his face with a soft cloth, soaping his long black hair, and combing the knots and tangles from it till it shone again as she remembered. It was well past dark before she was done, and Dany was exhausted. She stopped for drink and food, but it was all she could do to nibble at a fig and keep down a mouthful of water. She would have been, sleep would have been a release, but she had slept enough. Too long, in truth. She owed this night to Drogo for all the nights that had been and yet might be. The memory of their first ride was with her when she led him out into the darkness for the Dothraki. Believed that all thing of importance in a man's life must be done beneath the open sky. She told herself there were powers stronger than hatred, the spells older and truer than any of the Magi had learned. In Ahai, the night was black and moonless, but overhead 1,000,000 stars burned bright. She took that for an omen. No soft blanket of grass welcomed them there, only a hard, dusty ground, bare and strewn with stones. No trees stirred in the wind, and there was no stream to soothe her fears with the gentle music of water. Yeah. Well, man, just really setting the stage. It's heartbreaking.
Well, but it is. You're right. It is setting the stage because there were powers stronger than hatred, and so this is where people get kind of that conflicting. Like Dany seems to be a champion for the people, and she's not going to dwell on this hate. And there were spells older and truer than that of the Magi that she had learned in Ahai. So she's hopeful. I guess she's looking forward to being able to make change, even though she's had experienced all this great loss and her life has been completely flipped upside down. She's still kind of looking at the stars and seeing an omen there. So she tries to help Drogo remember their first ride and them being together. How cool and clean the water was, right, in the womb of the world. Man, there's just no response, right? She's just having this one last kind of moment with him. She loves him. This is the part that, like, it's crazy. I think when you play the what if game, it's like I have a feeling she would have had great power and sway over Drogo. I mean, this was not any
absolutely.
Yeah, this was not any just Khaleesi who was showing up here. This was she came from another country and had a throne that was due her in another land. So she could have changed these people. She could have moved these people forward. She could have moved them past raping, pillaging, all that kind of stuff. I mean, who knows where that would have went? But it's all kind of destroyed here, all because of a scratch. All because of a scratch on the chest.
Yeah. But
this is when she even tries to kind of like have a more intimate moment with him, right? And
she tells him remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember our first ride together. Remember the night we made Rhaego with the Khalasar all around us and your eyes on my face. Remember how cool and clean the water was in the womb of the world. Remember my sun and stars. Remember and come back to me.
Yep.
She kind of kisses him, on the head. Yeah, he doesn't say anything. So, then when the bleak dawn broke over an empty horizon, Dany knew that he was truly lost to her. When the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, she said sadly, When the seas go dry and the mountains blow and the winds like leaves, when my womb quickens again and I bear a living child, then you will return, my sun and stars, and not before. Never, the darkness cried, never, never, never. Inside the tent, Dany found a cushion, soft silk, stuffed with feathers. She clutched it to her breast as she walked back out to Drogo. And her sun and stars, if I look back, I am lost. I hurt even to walk, and she wanted to sleep and not to dream. She knelt, kissed Drogo on the lips, and pressed the cushion down on his face.
Jiminy Christmas.
Jeez.
Good gravy. Yeah. Yeah. So there it is. And this is the her journey, man. This all sucks. It's all the setup. It's all the rising action, everything. She's going through this transition. The dragon is awakening in her, and she's gonna make something huge is gonna happen next Daenerys chapter, and then A Clash of Kings is just like, wow, cool stuff, really cool visions and dreams and things with her. So Sir Ezra will be back into enjoying. I mean, I enjoyed that chapter just because there's, when you look at it, I'm sort of like, man, how long did all that stuff affect Ser Jorah, right? I mean, did he ever really truly recover from some of the stuff that happened to him in the tent? You know what I mean? Did that weigh on him?
Yeah.
Did that take years of his life away? I don't know. I wonder about those things. So, all right, guys, had a little something here we wanted to go over in our Cool Connection. So this Red Door lemon tree, lemon gate situation, wanted to talk about it. A lot of times when the conversation comes up, people revert to talking about parentage, and whether Daenerys was a true Targaryen or not, and does R plus L equal J, actually, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of whittled down some of this theory and pulled out the pieces that really just talk about Lemongate and really just focus in on the idea that it's significant. So the author of this has a bunch of ideas about parentage, but I pulled all that and just sort of tossed it aside, and then kind of filled in the blanks here. I even pulled in some of my own quotes from the Game of Thrones, just so you guys could kind of hear more about this and understand what it is and really determine for yourself whether you think it's significant. So here we go. Lemongate is a fan term for the ongoing mystery of the house with the red door, Daenerys and Viserys' childhood home. Daenerys believes that the red door is in Braavos, but the most prevalent aspect of her memory is the lemon tree outside her window. We've been told multiple times in multiple different ways and in multiple different books that lemon trees don't grow in Braavos. So that's the big deal here, right? With Lemongate is that there's some discrepancy in her memory, perhaps. Let's see. On its own right, or on its own, we might suspect that there's some author error. After all, the House with the Red Door memories were introduced in a game. In Game of Thrones, and we didn't really get a thorough examination of how completely opposite Braavos is to the memories Dany has of her childhood until A Feast for Crows. Yet the lemon hints are present before that. In fact, lemons are the most prominent fruit in our story, having been focused on specifically from the beginning in Sansa and Arya's love of lemon cakes. And furthermore, nothing else about Dany's memories fit with the Braavos we know. Okay. She remembers sun and grass and hot, sweet smells, but the weather in Braavos is either rain, fog, or freezing rain. Some people use the red door / lemon tree theory to indicate that Dany is not the daughter of Aerys, the Mad King, and his wife Rhaella. So we're not going to talk much about this, but I did think this bit was interesting. So it's interesting to note that Rhaella, who was physically abused and had several miscarriages, some might think that it's unlikely that she would be able to successfully bear a child in the middle of what was known as the greatest storm in living memory. Okay, so that's take that for what you will. There are a number of other odd things about a pregnant Rhaella, and her supposed flight to Dragonstone. For instance, Daenerys and Jaime's recollection of Rhaella's flight is wildly different. Dany believes that Viserys accompanied the pregnant Rhaella, but we have no idea if that is true. But as for Dany not being the child of Aerys and Rhaella, why is that such a tough pill to swallow? Our male lead had a secret heritage and will seemingly grant him access to powers and put him in position to save the world from the others. Why not our female lead? So that's sort of one of the many tangents that this user goes on to kind of talk about the parentage and things. Let me see if I can find real quick. Oh yeah, so this was done by Holloway Division. Best of 2017. Great post. And if you want the whole thing, I can kind of post a link to it. I whittled it down to what I think we need here. So, okay. So, anyways, back to the Red Door with lemon trees. This is I went back and I found for us just the first sort of time that the Red Door is mentioned. A Game of Thrones, Daenerys 1. Quote, she did not remember Dragonstone either. They had run again just before the usurper's brothers set sail with his newly built fleet. By then, only Dragonstone itself, the ancient seat of their house, had remained of the 7 kingdoms that had once been theirs. It would not remain for long. The garrison had been prepared to sell them to the usurper, but one night Sir William Derry and 4 loyal men had broken into the nursery and stolen them both, along with her wet nurse, and they set sail under the cover of darkness for the safety of the Bravosian coast. Now, this is where some people kind of think that a false trail might have been left. Maybe that was the story that they left with someone, another servant there, is that they sailed to Braavos, when in reality Sir William Derry might have actually sailed for Dorne. So here we go. We'll continue on. Same chapter, Daenerys 1. She remembered Sir Willem, dimly, a great gray bear of a man, half blind, roaring, bellowing orders from his sickbed. The servants had lived in terror of him, and he had always been kind, but he had always been kind to Dany. He called her little princess, and sometimes my lady, and his hands were soft as old leather. He never left his bed, though, and the smell of sickness clung to him day and night, a hot, moist, sickly sweet odor. That was when they lived in Braavos, in the big house with the red door. Dany had her own room there, with a lemon tree outside her window. After Sir Willem had died, the servants had stolen what little money they had left, and soon after they had been put out of the big house. Dany had cried when the red door closed behind them forever. Okay. So now, to counter this, a lot of people will bring up the idea of courts and gardens, and if you lived with the mighty and the wealthy, it's said that they had these courtyards where maybe you could have had a tree like this. So here's one of those quotes. So, there's no more wood. Darren had paid the innkeep double for a room with a fireplace, but none of them had realized that wood would be so costly here. Trees did not grow in Braavos, save in the courts and the gardens of the mighty. So people refer to that to say, yeah, obviously they could grow maybe a lemon tree in the courtyard. Let's see. So our Reddit user kind of contends with that a little bit, though, saying that there's 2 problems with this. First of all, let's address the Sea Lord's palace and why it doesn't fit. Daenerys associates the house with the Red Door with a peaceful, isolated, happy life. In other words, the last Targaryens were trying to keep a very low profile. Being kept as political capital by the Sea Lord in a magnificent palace with hundreds of rooms and a frickin' zoo is something Dany would have remembered. Second, just because the mighty can afford trees doesn't mean that they can magically create a climate in which citrus trees can grow. After all, I think Dany would also remember if her treasured house of childhood innocence was encased in a mighty Mirish greenhouse. So if you look past all the debates about parentage, this is something I kind of add in here, and we should be able to focus in and accept that there is something interesting about Dany's childhood memories. There's some type of discrepancy. Why the discrepancy? What does this mean? If you don't think it's just a minor detail or an author mistake, then we actually have a response from George himself. So he was asked about this very topic on LiveJournal. Let's see, our fan here says, Dany remembers a lemon tree outside the house with the red door in Braavos, but citrus trees shouldn't really grow in Braavos' cold, foggy climate. Is this discrepancy significant? Does it point to future revelations about Dany's past? Thank you so much. In a very uncharacteristic fashion, George actually responds, not with just the whole, he typically says, like, keep reading, right? But he pretty much confirms that it is significant. He says, very perceptive of you. Yes, it does point to ... Well, that would be telling. So there it is. Cut out all of the other Ashara Dane, all the other crazy stuff with parentage, and just look at the idea that there's something interesting about this red door that keeps kind of popping up. And so it popped up in this chapter. Sir Matt and I wanted to talk about it, because what we know about her is that she was with her brother, Viserys, right? And he was the beggar king, and they kind of went from place to place. And they were without a home.
Right.
But during all of that time, when he is the beggar king and they're moving around, she recalls an earlier memory where she was raised in this place with the red door. So,
yeah, I mean, everyone's the most likely candidate would be Dorne.
Yeah, that's mentioned, because the pack. I mean, Doran Martell kind of talks about making an alliance between House Targaryen,
and that's just that's something that the whole Dorne angle. You and I talked about this. The show just dismisses it so quickly that you end up losing a lot of it. But it seems like in Winds of Winter, Dorne's gonna be a much bigger player.
Yes, it does. Yeah, Ariana kind of going to secure an alliance. We know Quentin was going down to try to marry Dany. He was going to propose that to her, and then she denies him, so he tries to do something stupid and brave, and gets himself killed. All right, he gets spoilers. All right, I mean he's stupid. I actually really liked him, so I mean it was upsetting when that happened, but yeah. So anyways, people, when you get into this theory, people want to talk more about parentage and stuff. And so the one I have pulled up here is something that we'll have to do a little bit later, the full thing, because it talks a lot about the idea that we're not debating whether R plus L equals J or R plus L equals D, by the way, which is something people have mentioned. Again, this individual, Dany's thinking about a red door, and is born very close to around the time that Jon Snow is born, but people have looked at there's little references that indicate which one was born first, and so on. But the Tower of Joy is in Dorne, correct? I mean, it's down there, so it's sort of like if someone
not
was
too far. It looks like it's not too far from like Starfall and the door and the Danes.
Yeah. So anyways, that's sort of what that theory is about. Let me go down here to get the gist of this. So, okay. Lemongate is the simple, irrefutable fact that Dany's house with the red door was not in Braavos. So this does not mean that R plus L equals D, and it does not disqualify R plus L equals J. However, it is a clue of some importance, as confirmed by George himself. So basically, this person's trying to say, like, let's accept the fact that there's something significant to her thinking about her home being in a warm climate, because Braavos isn't necessarily like warm. It's not really. It's directly across from the Vale, right? I mean, isn't it? It's somewhat across the way from. So
yeah.
Anyways,
I think we think of it as being a little bit warmer.
We do. But it's. Let me read on here.
I mean, it could just be the region, just because it's on the same line. If there's mountains and stuff like that, that kind of changes it. And the Vale is more of a mountainous terrain. So I wouldn't say it's probably not as warm as like King's Landing, or certainly not Dorne, but it's certainly obviously warmer than like the Vale.
Yeah. A couple other points here. Like one of the questions we think about is, and we were talking about this, is why Oberyn tried to raise Dorne for Viserys. did he and Duran have Viserys in their possession, perhaps in Lemonwood? That's another interesting note there, that there's a place called Lemonwood in Dorne. Why has Gurm written the Sea Lord of Braavos as a man on his deathbed, so he will never be able to confirm the supposed marriage pact or anything, sheltering or any sheltering of Daenerys? Let's see. There's a lot more. There's so much more. The connections to later stuff in the books with the High Towers and like some of how they were passed from lord to lord, or went from house to house and things. So anyways, it's just a cool little theory. So if you want to look it up, I mean, I can post this link here, but it talks more about parentage, which I don't really want to do. I don't really want to talk about, whether that R plus L equals D, which is what a lot of people, when you start talking about this, a lot of people think that's what you're talking about. They think that you're indicating that Daenerys is Rhaegar and Lyanna's child, and then thus was possibly raised in Dorne.
In Dorne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's a cool little thing. So if you guys have thoughts and theories on the Red Door and why is it significant? Why does she keep thinking about it? Why is it seen? Why does it keep cropping up? Will we ever learn what it means to her? I think that'd be interesting to hear from you guys on that. So
perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
And this week we have a raven from Sir Silas the Immune. So here we go. Good day, Sir Ezra and Sir Matt. I have not sent a raven since this first one due to the sudden popularity of your podcast. I was worried my raven may have lost its way due to the number of other ravens heading your way. Okay. I'm writing now because a few weeks ago I finally became a patron of your great podcast and came up with a backstory to my hedge knight. I don't know if anyone does this, but I thought this would be kind of fun. And yes, people will definitely do. So this is great. My name is Sir Silas the Immune. I come from a large village in the north that no longer exists due to an unknown sickness that swept through my people. Old Town sent maesters to try and help/study us, and one noticed I was the only person who didn't catch the sickness. I was nothing more than a curious... I was nothing more than a curious to the rest of the maesters, but as the people in my village died, I still remained, and Maester Jonathan decided that I should come with him. Okay. The great maesters thought nothing of a young boy who happened to survive an unknown sickness that killed the rest of his village, and told Jonathan I had no place with them. He thought different, and since he was knighted before joining the order, he left and became a hedge knight with me as his squire. We traveled far and wide on many adventures and healed many sick people, as that was Jonathan's calling. He continued to study/teach me and found I never caught a cold, nor caught the most contagious sickness we dealt with. It became extremely useful because he sent me into places to help those with a sickness he couldn't help due to fear of catching it himself. Wow. Our final adventure together was to reach Old Valyria and study the Stonemen in the hopes of finding a cure to grayscale. While we were there, the inevitable happened. Jonathan caught grayscale, and I watched my mentor and only friend slowly lose himself. Once he realized he was too far gone to try saving, he knighted me and ended his life before his mind was completely gone. Wow. Okay, I was in a dark place for a while after that, and stayed in Old Valyria just wondering. Often I wished it was me who had caught grayscale, for I knew Jonathan could have saved me in a way I couldn't have saved him. What saved me from this place was finding an old Valyrian sword in one of the old buildings next to a dead stone man who found it from who knows where. Finding this sword gave me strength and hope, and I decided to go back to the Seven Kingdoms to continue the work Jonathan started. On my journey home, I have heard of the wars raging, and I know I made the right choice. The kingdom is bleeding, and now more than ever, they need a healer. I understand this is a long raven, and you may not be able to read it, but I wanted to be more a part of your community. This was great. This is awesome. This is fantastic. So may the gods heal your wounds, Sir Silas. Thank you very much. This was epic. We appreciate it. Great backstory.
Right. Absolutely. But yeah, so Sir Ezra and I are going to continue. We got the Patreon series. By the time this comes out, this should be coming out on Labor Day, so it'll be September, which means part 3 of our Tourney at Harrenhal series will be coming here shortly, which is the abduction of Lyanna Stark and why it kind of happened, how it possibly went down, because we know it takes place sometime after Harrenhal. So, what kind of happened in that in-between time.
Yeah.
Because he crowns her Queen of Love and Beauty, and then there's some time in between, and then he, air quote, abducts her. So that's kind of what it's breaking down. It's part of our big 4-part Tourney at Harrenhal series. Which is an even bigger part of our kind of show watcher's guide to the books, providing that backstory for all of you guys who are, maybe just you're getting to the reread for the first time. So, stay tuned for that. Check that out on patreon.com.
Yeah. And also, I've told folks, by the way, I've had people reaching out, like asking when A Clash of Kings is going to start. And to all of those folks, and anyone who's kind of wondering, like, do I need to go back and listen to everything? It'd be great. If you want to go back and listen to the whole just our companion to a Game of Thrones, it's awesome. But if you also want to just pick right up with the Clash of Kings and keep moving on, I think that's totally fine and doable. I hate to say it, but even if you are like it's your first time and you just kind of want something to you want to dig a little deeper, there are some cool chapters and some really important chapters that if you reach out to Sir Matt and I, we could maybe let you know which ones to go back and read about. Some of the Bran chapters and his dreams and visions are really good to make sure you have under your belt before you start.
And I'll say the easiest. I would say arguably the easiest place to jump into the books. Obviously, Game of Thrones is the easiest place, but certainly I think A Clash of Kings is a decent place to start if you're coming from the show, because the first season and the first book are easily the most in line with each other.
Yeah,
it's really when you get to Clash of Kings is when they start introducing a lot more characters, and there's just so many differences, and that's really where it kind of separates. They go on pretty different paths, and so I think that a lot of the stuff that happens, it happens almost the same way in the first season. And the first season actually uses a lot of the dialogue straight from the books. So I think that's a pretty good place to jump into the books is A Clash of Kings.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for playing the Game of Thrones. In our next episode, we will be discussing Chapter 69, Tyrion 9.
If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a raven at btkcast@gmail.com.
We will see you in a week, and remember to hear my roar.